All right, guys. Hey, before we get rolling along too far, last week we gave a pretty good shout out. I know, Jared, you did to Kori and Associates. This week, I want to give a shout out right out of the get go to Noah Jacobs. Okay, I told you guys I bought a car, and I wanted to give Noah the business, so I said, here's the detail on the car, and he did some digging around, and I had been with a previous company for 35 plus years, right? And we have our house bundled in with our car insurance. And Noah's a straight shooter, man. This is why you need to go to Jacobs Insurance, because he looked up the numbers and compared it to what I had, and he gave the recommendation to stay where I'm at for another year, and then we'll relook at it next year. Now, how can you beat that for customer service?
Right, because normally you would think people would say, no, come to us. We can give
Right.
you the best deal. We can do this and this and this. And I mean, he said it to us when we
Yep.
were doing the partner podcast this past summer, that's exactly how he does business. He's going to give you an honest answer, even if it is not going with Jacobs Insurance. And
Right.
you got to appreciate that. So no, that's cool. And it's
Well, that
not
goes
surprising because he is a stand-up person. So
absolutely, that goes a long way, and that's for. I know, Jared, you use Jacobs Insurance for your insurance. I mean, I would think anybody in your age group, definitely they should call Jacobs first of all. And even you, Matt, for your age group of guys that haven't got a lot of insurance tied up yet and a lot of bundling, it's well worth the call. So they're just my recommendation. Jacobs Insurance Agency, the sponsors of the Prep Spotlight, we'll get to in a little bit.
yeah.
What do you think of your new wheels?
I like it. I haven't got the license plates on it yet, but I really like it. I mean, I'm gonna go pick them up tomorrow actually, and drive it around a little bit. But yeah, it's a sweet little ride. Buick makes a nice product.
I was going to ask, so you are actually putting a license plate on it? I didn't know if you were going to wait until it was officially your car, when you traded in the company car or what?
Right. No, because if I have like trips, maybe if I got a trip to DC, I've been taking the Equinox the last few times. I may take that out there just to give it a test run, burn some carbon out of it. You know how it goes. But that's not the big story. The big story is Jared's back home from a big weekend in Arizona. I can't wait to hear a little bit about it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still kind of reeling, man. Like my voice is just kind of finally back, and I didn't really do any yelling, but it's crazy how it just will take the wind out of your sails. A trip like that Monday coming back to work after a bachelor party like that, man, it's always brutal. But yeah, it was a freaking blast. I mean, there was 10 of us. I mean, shout out to my brother Josh out there in Arizona. He kind of was like the ringleader. I mean, he is the best man, so he was the ringleader putting it together. I mean, did a great job. His big recommendation of what we should do and what we did do Friday night when we got there, went to a place called Buffalo Chip in Cave Creek, Arizona, which Cave Creek it's almost like it's like you're in a Western, the way the town is set up, like with all these little shops with like almost like your whatever it would have been 1900s, Django Unchained type town. It's almost what it looks like. It's kind of almost lawless. Big old biker bar there with motorcycles everywhere. But Buffalo Chip is basically a rodeo where you walk into this giant bar. I kid you not, probably 1,000 people at this place, or at least it felt like it. It was like Times Square. You go out to the back, and there's stadium lights on this round rodeo, and there's like stadium lights on this rodeo, and like people are going nuts. It was almost like a little bit of culture shock, like seeing how this goes down. I'm watching guys riding bulls. It's amazing that people actually do that. And the thing that really cracked me up, though, about it was, so for halftime entertainment, they would have, like, I mean, Matt, your kids could do it. They would have little kids come out. You had to be 50 pounds or under, and they have all these little sheep, and the kids would grab onto the sheep and ride them around with, like, a bicycle helmet on. And it was like the wildest thing I'd ever seen. And then even the crazier thing on top of that is anybody can ride a bull. You can walk up, and if you blow a 0-0 breathalyzer test, you can ride a bull. Whoa. So it just was an awesome time. I mean, that was just one little highlight, but I mean, I got red hot at the casino. That was another, positive light from it. Talking stick. But overall, the best part about it is the football schedule. I mean, you wake up your body clock is still set to Eastern time. So I'm waking up, even if I'm out till 2 a.m., I'm still like waking up at like 6 a.m. local time. And you got college game day starting at 6 a.m. And then we had the full college football slate starting at 9 a.m. So anything we did, I mean, it was just, it felt like you got there and you were turning right around immediately. But it didn't really matter what we were doing. I mean, just hanging with those guys. It's like even that Saturday watching football. It's like we just sat around at the Airbnb basically and watched football and drink some beers. And that is maybe the best time of all, just because you're around all those people. So that's my first bachelor party. Definitely was definitely a positive experience. I had a great time.
So that was your first bachelor party. Your friends haven't started falling off, getting married, and having bachelor parties yet?
No, well, I actually just basically have like 2 invitations to weddings within the last week. Got another bachelor party actually in Scottsdale for my buddy Coop coming up in April. So it's starting to become that time where I'm going to be having bachelor parties, left and right. But for a first bachelor party, that was great.
That was a hit. So I would advise you, since it's about to start happening, set up a little budget on the side because you're gonna all of a sudden start having to pay for tuxedos because you're gonna be in some of these weddings. You're gonna have to pay for wedding presents. You're gonna have to pay for bachelor parties. And I remember there was a stretch of, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 years where it seemed like I had 2 or 3 a year because all of a sudden, you can't go to all of them, maybe because of work duties or whatever. But no, it is funny that once it starts happening, you guys start getting in that age range, everyone starts getting married, then the kids come and all that kind of stuff. So
it's like that was another thing. My brother Josh, he covered the whole Airbnb for all of us, which was very kind. I mean,
oh, nice.
I almost couldn't afford, my share of split by 10. And so he covered it all. It is the best man. How your money just disappears out there, maybe with Uber rides and all that. But it's what was interesting to me about this trip is, all of us were in a relationship except my brother's getting married, Johnny, his brother-in-law, Nate. Everybody else was in a relationship. So you kind of almost had to find like other ways to entertain yourself. I mean, there's girls everywhere in Arizona. You can't really, do anything with it. So I wasn't even there when they were doing this, but just like the stupid gags that crack you up. So they're at Buffalo Chip. And I had left because it was like midnight. At that point, it'd been like a 12-hour day of drinking. I was burnt out. So half the group left. The other half just stayed and was BSing around. At one point, they were checking IDs walking into this place as if they were bouncers. And I don't know why that's like so funny to me. That's just like the definition. It's like almost like something out of Jackass where people are walking through getting their IDs checked, and then you walk 3 more feet, and then now there's another person checking your IDs. I don't know why I thought that was like the funniest thing I ever heard of. Checking IDs as they're walking into the bathroom. I don't know. It was a lot of debauchery, but nothing too inappropriate. So it just was a good time.
I know, Ted, you're wanting to jump in here, but that sometimes that you hear about the bachelor parties where it's like Vegas and you're going to the strip club and you got strippers and it's just crazy. It's like the movie Hangover. You hear about bachelor parties like that, which at a certain age, that sounds like a good time too. But or you do the ones like what you're talking about where you just get together and it's nothing crazy. Yeah, you got a super cool Airbnb with a pool and everything like that. Right. Then you say there was like a putt-putt course and stuff right in it. So that's all you need. TV to watch football. And you got beers, you got food, you got the pool. I mean, sometimes that's all you need. And then, you go out, you go to a couple bars and you go to a couple of restaurants and have a good time like that. But, sometimes it's like, so Ted, I know last week we were talking about the whole bachelor party thing. And it's like, you can go super extreme or, it is low key. Let's just get the guys together, have a good weekend of watching football and some good drinks and food. And that's a good time too. So, yeah.
Well, what did you guys do for your bachelor parties? Sorry to cut you off. What did you guys do?
So when we got married, we were living out in Connecticut. So my wife and I, we came back for the weekend and, we weren't about to not say anything bad about what you guys just did, but we weren't about to ask everyone to fly out to Connecticut for this thing or come out to New York or come out to Boston or something like that. We were like, you know what? Most of the people that we're going to invite are back in Michigan. So let's go back to Michigan. We also already had our daughter, so we needed someone to watch our daughter. So we're like, we got to go back to Michigan and drop her off at one of the grandparents' houses. So that was part of it too. But we were like, everyone's already back in Michigan. Let's just do that. So her and her friends went to, I'm blanking on the name of the town right now. It's south of Grand Rapids. But I went to Grand Rapids and we got a hotel downtown Grand Rapids. We went to a Whitecaps game and we did like the classic bar crawl. We went to all the breweries downtown Grand Rapids and stuff like that. So nothing too crazy, but again, Whitecaps game, just going out to the bar with friends and stuff like that. It was a blast.
Yeah, I mean, you guys won't relate to this, but it was a whole different story of my bachelor party. And back in the, I got my first marriage was in 1980. I didn't have a bachelor party for the second one. I already survived that first one, but back in those days, it was you'd go to a place, somebody would host it, or it'd be at a clubhouse somewhere, like at a golf course or something. You'd watch dirty movies, and then you go, then you do the bar crawl. Then you do, yeah. That was the big thing. And then all the guys were hooting and hollering, making comments, and then the other thing, which not real proud of, but it was the time, man, the guy that's getting married, he's getting shots all night long, man. And so it was not a good night at the end of the night. I'll tell you that much. It was a complete pass out deal and really sick the next day.
I mean, there's nothing to be ashamed. I mean, that is kind of part of it, maybe they should cut you off at some point, but right. That is part of it, buying the bachelor some drinks, sure. And the last night as a free man, or however you want to sell it. But the starting the night off by watching dirty movies, that's an interesting one. Whatever.
Well, it evolved from that. It evolved from that to then it was maybe another decade after that. Then it was the strip club was the popular thing. Right.
Not to listen. I believe you, but I also don't. This almost seems like, is this just your bachelor party you're referencing?
It was every bachelor party I went to in those days.
That can't be true.
No, everyone I went to, it was that way.
Yeah. That's just what you did back then. I mean, the 80s were a different time. The town that my wife had her bachelor party was Saugatuck.
Oh, right.
I was blanking on the name of it, but really cool town. So yeah, her and her friends went there. We were downtown Grand Rapids, but no. So yeah, that's funny. Different times back in the 80s than it is even through the 90s. And then, when me and my friends were getting married, and now Jared, you and your friends, you're flying out to Scottsdale. And
that's
so when you get married, you guys going down to Miami, or like what's happening?
Yeah. Bachelor parties that nowadays have become destination places and cost a lot of money, like you were alluding to.
That's what I was going to say too. Like, a lot of them, I know you guys didn't golf, but I've heard of people saying like their bachelor parties are going somewhere like Scottsdale, or you're going to like Myrtle Beach or Hilton Head or something like that. And you're doing like a whole golf weekend where it's like, these aren't cheap courses. This isn't going to just, like cheap little 9-hole local courses. Like you're getting an Airbnb, you're golfing at 2 or 3, pretty expensive golf courses. And then there's the food and the drinks and stuff like that, the airplane ticket. So there turns out to be like $2-3 grand just to go to a bachelor party.
Right. Listen, I don't know how much I spent, all included, whatever it was, entirely worth it.
Yeah, there you go.
Which I think everybody, when they come back from bachelor party, it's like, hey, you almost don't want to look at the bank account, but whatever it was, those are memories that last a lifetime.
Oh, for sure.
And it's cool seeing all those people. I mean, like a lot of my brother's friends are like people you hardly, you always think back to high school or whenever you're like, you hear about whether it's like your dad, it's like, man, you don't really see your high school friends like that often. You're always like, man, that's never going to be me. Sure enough, 5 years later, it is you. And so, and it's amazing how you don't see these people forever, but when you see them, it's like, you never stop seeing them. It's mind blowing how it's right where you left off 5-6 years ago.
Forever friends. Yep.
It's amazing. So
that's what
it was a good time. Glad to be back, man. Right as the weather turned shitty here. So that's
you got to enjoy that beautiful Arizona weather. Yeah. No, Jared, that's what words of the wise. Ted's even wiser than me. We'll just use the wise. Your real friends are those ones. You'll have a ton of friends throughout the years, and you'll make friends here and there, all that kind of stuff that come and go. But the ones that you can pick up like that, you haven't seen them in 5 years, but when you get together, it's like you're back at Corona High School or whatever. That's when those are the real friends. You don't have to text them every day. You don't have to call them all the time. It's just like whenever you bump into them, it's like Ted probably at your last high school reunion. You probably had some friends like that where it was like you were 20 years ago or 20 years old again or something.
Oh, you're exactly right, man. Yeah. We just caught right back up. And the other thing, the reunion thing, though, you talk to people you weren't really close with back in school, and found out what happened to their life and everything else. So that was cool. Well, I'm glad to see that you made it back safe and sound. Yeah. Sounds like it wasn't too decadent.
No one got arrested. No one lost their IDs or I don't know, whatever.
There may have been some puking in an Uber at one point, but other than that, I feel like everybody. And I'll be honest, I didn't even it was that first night I was there. I wound up with my head in the toilet. not even from like drinking that much. It was like so it's funny how it plays out. It's like we're all going bar hopping. All of a sudden, my dad's like, let's go climb a mountain, which is like basically a hike. And I'm like, dude, I'm already out of shape as it is, let alone I'm dehydrated as hell with just 10 beers in my gullet. Like I went about halfway up the mountain. I felt like I was gonna die. I was like, dude, no, I'm going back. I'm just gonna. You guys keep going. I'm just gonna stop right here.
So I was gonna ask, and you don't have to blow any cover or whatever, but because we know your dad went. If your dad had a good time, it sounds like he did. If he's organizing a hike at midnight,
he tapped out early on the rodeo night. He was out he left at like 7:30, but other than that, he hung in basically the whole time. I know he was a little apprehensive about going, but
right.
From what I could tell, he had the time of his life. So
cool.
Well, that's awesome, man. Good to hear. Well, for our listeners, this is episode 332 of the 3 Point Podcast, presented by the Memorial Healthcare Wellness Center. You know, for those unexpected moments when injuries strike, check out their orthopedic walk-in clinic Monday through Fridays, 8 to noon. Also want to thank our other partners. They include ALS of Michigan, AZee Branding Solutions, Jacobs Insurance Agency, Kori Associates Real Estate Services, Nelson House Funeral Homes, Rivals Taphouse and Grille, Success Group Mortgage and Servicing, and the Shiawassee County Fair. We'll get this thing rolling officially, and we'll take a short break and be back with the Prep Spotlight right after this. All right, guys, I'll jump right into it, focusing on some of the games here locally. Our Prep Spotlight, of course, presented by Jacobs Insurance Agency. Wow, I think the game of the week last week was the Chesaning-Durand game, 39-36. Indians back-to-back unbeaten regular seasons in the MMAC. Braden Florian, 203 yards and 2 touchdowns, but that final score was in jeopardy all the way to the very end.
Well, yeah, Chesaning was down at halftime, right? So they had to make a little bit of a comeback and obviously put up some points. And it sounds like they were struggling a little bit to stop Durand's offense. So maybe a little bit of an eye opener, maybe a little bit of a, hey, it's playoff time. We gotta turn things on here.
Yeah, a little wake-up call. Owasso, a good game. They downed Flint Kersley 47-41. Hoyt Patrick, 181 yards, 3 touchdowns. Liam Patrick, 3 TD passes. They're at Erie Mason this week, not Lutheran North. That was on the regular schedule because North qualified for the Prep Bowl. So Owasso could get a winning season for the first time, quite some time, with a victory and, you know, an outside chance to get in the playoffs as well. I guess.
Are they currently slated to be in, or are they on the outside looking in as of now?
I think they're on the outside right now, but they could sneak in. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Also, Corunna, a huge win over Linden, 17-14. Paul Gallisk, a 37-yard field goal at the horn for the win. How big is that? That never happens.
I mean, that's huge. Don't say never. One of my games,
rarely.
One of my games junior year, our kicker, Dave Graham,
right.
Bill Graham's son, he hit a kick at the buzzer for a win against Mount Pleasant my junior year. But yes, I mean, especially in high school, you know, we heard about the Florian kid at Chesaning hit 57-yard field goal last week.
Yeah.
That takes some execution. You know, you got to have a clean snap. You got to block. I mean, then you got to hit the kick. So no, that's impressive to hit one at the buzzer. I know he's a soccer player.
Yeah.
My friend and graduated with me, Kyle Gregorica, he's the head coach there at Corunna for soccer. So I know Paulie plays soccer for Kyle. So that's cool that he hit a game-winning kick for the football team.
Yeah, that was really big. Dane the Demon Zeman had 9 tackles and a couple sacks in the game as well. Ovid Elsie over New Lothrop 42-0. Clay Frucci 137 yards, a couple touchdowns. Trice Tokar and Brock Spitzley also a pair of TDs. New Lothrop now 3-5 and not looking good for Friday night. They're a big upset. They have to go on the road to Ubley. So that would be their only hope, I think, to make the playoffs and end that or continue that 25-year streak. It's going to be tough.
Yeah, it's looking like it's not going to continue, and you know, it's a bummer. It's a great streak, but hey, it just means some team out there that probably doesn't make playoffs very often maybe got in instead of them. So they'll reload next year. You know they will.
Oh yeah, no question about it. No, they're playing a freshman quarterback as it is right now, so yeah, things probably will look a lot better. Also, Perry over Potterville, 28-21. Braden Connell had 200 yards plus in total offense with 3 touchdowns. And Brady Burns and Keegan Brown led the D with 10 tackles each. How about that?
Yep, senior night. So it's always big. We talked about homecoming. You want to get that win on homecoming, and then the win on senior night. That's, you know, your last home game, unless you are going to the playoffs. Perry won't be making the playoffs this year. they got their win on homecoming. They got their win on senior night. So,
And Brady Burns, homecoming king.
You
Can't
know
go. Love it. Also in football, Morris down Vesterberg in 8-man football, 54-0. Joel Fisher had 150 yards and 2 touchdowns. Wrapping this up with volleyball, Owasso beat Corunna in 4 sets last week. Bria Reed had 7 aces in that one for the Trojans, and Ovid Elsie beat Durand in 4 sets. Kaiden Ellie had 34 assists in that match that night. So that's it for the prep spotlight. We get ready for the playoffs now. You know, we were talking about it off air. Of course, we're all 3 Corunna Cavaliers, and if you look at snooze, Corunna would play Flint Powers in their first round, and they'd have Hamady and Williamston also in that district.
Flint Powers was like forfeiting games. How are they? I don't understand.
Yeah, they're listed at 3 and 5, so I don't know. Maybe I don't know.
Maybe they only forfeited 1 or 2, but
yeah,
I don't understand, man. You're forfeiting games and you're in playoffs. How does that?
It's that point system.
Good for Corunna. They should probably win that game by about 50. But
right, I will say. So I did tweet out when I tweeted out Snooze's latest mapatology that he dropped on Sunday.
Right.
I also said that we talked about the whole being under 500 conversation and still make them playoffs, basically what you're talking about, Jared. And Snooze did reply, and he said something along the lines of, you know, you got to think about the numbers. There's just not, with all the teams that have gone down to 8-man football,
right,
and just all the different divisions and stuff like that, to an extent, it's also, you got to have enough teams to make the playoffs. So yes, it's the point system, but then also there's only so many teams left playing 11-man football. So that's an angle of it I hadn't thought about, but it's still weird to see a team under 500 making the playoffs.
Well, maybe
a shame, man. We need to adjust the rules. I mean, you know, I sound like the old man on the couch, and I could talk about this every week, and our listeners will probably get sick of it. But until change is made, we might have to talk about it every week. I mean, Matt, you look at your 9-0 season. That 9-0 season, it's like almost like it doesn't even weigh the same compared to like if a team went 9-0 or 8-1, 7-2, whatever in today's day and age. It's like it's not even comparable, the level of talent that was around in the state, not even comparable to the number of schools, number of enrollment. Why are we still have the same rules and crowning the same amount of champions and the same amount of, it's a shame. And I'm all about the participation trophies and handing out 10 state titles every year in the state of Michigan. But I mean, am I alone, Ted? I know I feel like I'm maybe the lone island. You don't seem to like that take.
No, I'm actually leaning more the other way, since we're seeing these teams with 3 wins getting in the playoffs. So you brought it up before, and I think they ought to seriously take a look at maybe going to a 6-team playoff for 11-man football and keep the 2, the 2 and 8-man. It makes sense to me. 3 games on one day, 3 games on the next day. You don't have to have it all tight. That last game, man, you get out of Ford Field, it's 11 o'clock at night. And It's got a long drive for a lot of people to get home too. So you could condense it a little bit. And I think I'm on your side on this one. I think I'm leaning more that way.
Right. I mean, I think it's something you could adjust. If all of a sudden, say there's a year that 15 or 20 schools are able to get back to 11-man football, okay, then we adjust it. Because it ends up being like March Madness. Yes, we like more March Madness games, but there ends up being a lot of those matchups that end up being just 30-point blowouts because it's just teams getting into the tournament because they have to get 68 teams or whatever it is, to make the tournament. So that's almost what it feels like it's approaching, so finding the sweet spot, like we said, if a team doesn't get out because they just missed it, because they went 5-4 and just missed it, okay, well, that gives you something to work for next year,
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know. I wish, I mark my words, I'm going to go back and listen to what our takes were around the time when this got accepted. I don't think this was the intention of the MHSAA when they made that rule change. They weren't accepting forfeitures. Like, what are they going to forfeit the playoff game next? It's just, I can talk about it forever. Anyway, you can keep going.
Right.
Yeah. Well, we'll just end it right there for the prep spotlight. But, it looks like Corunna's definitely in the playoffs. It just depends where they'll be. They got a tough road game at Armada this week, and we'll see how it all shakes down. Selection Sunday, next Sunday on FanDuel Network, I'm assuming, Jared?
Network.
Yeah, that's where it'll be. I think 4:30 p.m., I believe, but I'm not sure.
All right.
I think I did see that too, because I think the Wings play at night. Because I saw, of course, everyone complains about everything. I saw people complaining like, "Why is this show at 4 o'clock?" And then people were like, Well, the Wings, it's either the Wings or the Pistons play
Yeah,
at 7
games,
o'clock,
definitely.
so.
People will bitch about everything, man. If I had it my way, that would either be like a 9 a.m. show or like a 10 p.m. or a 9 p.m. Like no in between. Like
Right.
you're either barely finding out right before you hit practice on Monday, or you're finding out Sunday morning.
Right.
But it is what it is. People pretty much already know who they're facing at this point.
Yeah. Yep. We'll be tuned in for sure. All right. That's the Prep Spotlight presented by Jacobs Insurance Agency. Make sure you give Noah and the gang over there a call if you have any insurance questions or anything you need insured. We'll be back. We'll talk a little football, college, and Detroit Lion football right after this.
All right. So I had an interesting predicament where I was watching the game. You know, it was a noontime start on the West Coast, whereas you guys watched it at 3:30.
Right.
Listen, Matt, you're a better fan than I am, because I just know you're not gonna. It's when Michigan, when I'm watching the Michigan squad now, especially now that they've gone Tuttle and kind of totally forgotten the whole orgy, we're gonna run the ball down your throat, style of play. I almost like laugh at what I'm watching in that Illinois game. The fumbles, the interceptions that are just terrible. It's easy to blame it all on Tuttle, and that's what everybody's been doing, fans included, even us at some point blame it on the quarterback. They're making a scapegoat out of this quarterback room. Right. Yeah, they're terrible, 100%, but the play calling is so uninspired. What happened to the play calling we grew to love, in the last few years? The end arounds, the tight end delay that we used to run 2-3 times a game for 15, 20 yards pop that teams couldn't quite adjust to. It's so simple to just blame it on Tuttle. And that's what cracks me up. It's like now there's the news coming out. Oh, we're dropping bags on Bryce Underwood. Oh, we might go with Tuttle this week. We might go with Orgy. It's like, dude, stop. Enough about the quarterback. Let's look inward at this team. You have a team made of NFL talent that defense is questionable at best. They maybe had their best game of the year last week against Illinois, and even that they still gave up 21 points. And Rodemaker looked like goddamn, Johnny Manziel out there at points.
Yep.
Let me just stop right there. Do you guys agree that we're almost scapegoating this quarterback situation, or do you guys really think a mediocre quarterback, this team is maybe one loss only to Texas? What do you guys think?
I mean, I definitely think this is the type of team. I know Cade McNamara now does not look very good for Iowa, but if you think about the Cade McNamara that was in 2021 when he was in that one season at Michigan, he wasn't lighting the stats up. He wasn't lighting the scoreboard up, but he ran the offense, didn't turn the ball over, and Michigan had a good team. So, right, that's what I've seen people talk about, and I've said, like, if Michigan just had that kind of quarterback, I think this would be a pretty good team. The offense still has some question marks, but they're not even getting that out of the quarterback because of the turnovers, not hitting any sort of passes downfield. And I think part of that, yes, it's the quarterback, but I'm with you that it seems like whether it was Davis Warren, whether it was Alex Orgy, whether it's now Jack Tuttle, they're not calling an offense for what the quarterback is. It's almost like they're trying to make Jack Tuttle run a JJ McCarthy offense. And it's like, he's not JJ McCarthy. They had him throw the ball 32 times against Illinois. And I thought this whole time we were going to be a running team because we got Mullings, we got Edwards, we got a quarterback in Orgy who can run. And Jack Tuttle, even though he fumbles, he can run the ball a little bit. If you let him get out there and on a rollout, he can maybe run and pick up some yards. To me, it seems like they're not tailoring the offense around what the quarterback can do. Make easy throws, just simple, like you said, little dump offs, little slants, little hitches, little comebacks, a quick little rollout where you can either run or hit Loveland on like a drag coming across. Like, again, we're just sitting here on a podcast, we're washed up high school athletes or whatever. We're not coaches, but some of it seems like they make it really hard on the quarterback. You should know what you have. You know what you have in Jack Tuttle. Call the plays that make it easy for him. And it doesn't seem like it's helping. And it just seems like the team is broken. It doesn't seem like they're really together. And if they go out there and play like that against Michigan State, they're going to get run off the field because Michigan State's going to come out and play their best game of the season. So they better figure something out.
Yeah, the quarterback thing has been a scapegoat thing, but let's face it, and you're kind of talking about it in a roundabout way. It's Sharon Moore. It's coaching. It has not lived up to what we thought it would. How do you go into the season with the 3 quarterbacks that he's played so far? What is the deal with this kid from North Carolina? You hear these things online. Right. Oh, he doesn't want to play this year. What? No, well, that's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. If the kid is any good and they recruited,
I'm glad you brought that up. You can keep going.
Well, I was just going to say, and going back to Moore, how could you coach that game and not make a change at quarterback somewhere in that game? How could you not make a change?
I didn't think he was. No, I'm with Matt. Why are we throwing it 32 goddamn times?
Well, right.
Like, it's almost like they put Tuttle in an unfair situation. Right. Whether it's Orgy, whether it's Tuttle, whether it's Warren, you should be running the ball 2 out of every 3 plays.
And I mean, think about it. We had JJ McCarthy last year, and they ran the ball every play against Penn State.
Right.
And you have a top 10 NFL quarterback. Like, why are we not doing that now with Jack Tuttle at quarterback?
And I know we don't have the same offensive line, but I didn't look at the Illinois game and say, man, we can't get anything going on the ground. I thought we were pretty solid running the ball when we did. Mullings, I think, almost eclipsed 100 yards. He did.
Yeah, he did.
Edwards had a few decent runs. His Achilles heel, I mean, goddamn, he fumbles a lot. But the number one play that was like, what the hell are we doing? We were down 2 scores. We got a good drive going. Loveland played great, by the way. I mean, if you're an NFL scout, just watch that game film and you go, wow, yeah, I want this guy as a blocker and as a pass catcher. He was impressive. But they get down into the red zone. It's first down, and they come out gunning again, and Tuttle just throws it right to the defender. It was like 1st and 10. We finally got this drive going. Tuttle's made a few big throws to get us in that situation. And then we're just like 1st and down. We're like, so essentially you're telling us we're going to throw the ball until we score. It's like, just run the goddamn ball, man. They lost their way. I know USC has fallen on hard times, but that formula seemed like it was replicable. I thought it was. They in the very next game, they win against Minnesota, very similar formula. And then against Washington, it was like they just lost their way. If you remember what happened, Orgy comes out, first 6 plays, 3 run, 3 pass. At that point, you realize they're not willing to do the orgy. They're not willing to Mullings people to death. They want to throw the ball 32 times for some godforsaken reasons. I mean, put it simply like this way, and we're talking about coaching. Do you think this team is the same record, same scores of Curt Cignetti is the coach? It just they're not. Their talent is so much better than what it's producing on the field. I don't care who's at quarterback. I don't care if I'm at quarterback. For God's sakes, for this team. The defense is legit. They have legit talent there. The offensive line, I mean, it's Michigan. You reload every year. We reload every year. So people are acting like there's scrubs. I don't know who some of these guys are, but they're not scrubs. They're players who would start at Illinois. They're players who would probably start at Indiana.
Mm-hmm.
It's embarrassing. And I don't know about you guys. Like, I always want to beat Michigan State, so I'm going to be rooting hard as hell. But outside of that Michigan State game, I don't give a shit what happens the rest of the year. I've seen enough. We're going to act like the quarterback was the issue all offseason, and it was an issue, but I don't think it's entirely the issue. I'm seeing some cracks in this program, in this foundation, that I don't think Bryce Underwood is going to solve in a year. And as for the Davis thing, from what my understanding, Matt, you probably know better than I would. I think there's some sort of handshake agreement with his parents and Jim Harbaugh, who's now gone, that he's going to sit out his first year.
Right.
Why? If Michigan program is worth their salt, like, he probably will never play. Again, they're going to go portaling next year. They're still trying to get Underwood. Do you think they would be trying to get Underwood right now if they thought Davis was this guy? No shame to the kid. We need you to play, man. Look at his locker room. I don't know what agreement your parents made. I mean, you're a grown adult. You're in college, man. If that was an agreement, you should look around at this locker room and say, hey, these guys need me. There's championship pedigree in this locker room. Championship coaches, Sharon Moore, Will Johnson, NFL first rounders, looking at you and saying, we need you, man. And I don't know what the deal is. Maybe he isn't. Maybe he wouldn't be an upgrade. But if he is an upgrade, it's a bummer that he's not playing.
Well, you could play in 3 games and not lose eligibility, right?
Yeah. That's what I mean. Like, why didn't they try and get him in early in the season? Because now you're in that stretch. Michigan State, they still have to play Indiana, Oregon next week, and then obviously Ohio State. So it's like, so now are you going to play him? You're almost setting him up to fail now because you're in the toughest part of the schedule. From what I understand, so I've told you guys this before, but a guy I work with, he's good friends with Jaden Davis. I mean, he became really good friends with him, good friends with the family. He sat by Jaden Davis's dad at the USC game. So he's become really close with that family. He says it's not that they want him to redshirt, but they want him to earn the job. They don't want it to be that we're throwing you in just because all the other quarterbacks suck.
Right.
Not that you won the job, but just because the other quarterbacks suck, whatever that means. My thing is, like, Jack Tuttle's 25. If we're not about to win a Big Ten championship with a 25-year-old quarterback, I mean, sorry, thanks Jack Tuttle for putting in the work, but you're not the quarterback of the future. Like, let's give it to Orji. I don't care. Let Orji play. At least he's going to be there for another year or two. Or let the freshman go out there and get some reps. Because if we really are about to get Bryce Underwood, I mean, you would think that he's going to be starting next year. So, so who knows what to really read into that whole situation. Right. But, it's disappointing because the talent is there. Like the defense, we've been ripping on the defense all year. At least I have. But they only gave up 100 yards in the second half to Iowa or to Illinois. They actually played a pretty good game against Illinois. The offense just couldn't do anything. Right. So it's just like, that's what I mean. Going, Michigan State this week, obviously Childs is playing better. Nick Marsh obviously is probably going to be all Big Ten or close anyway. And if Will Johnson doesn't play because he's been kind of banged up, that defense is going to have a lot of work to do. And, we just got to hope whoever plays quarterback doesn't turn the ball over. Like that's the point we're at. Just don't turn the ball over, because that sets the defense up to fail if you're turning the ball over. So.
That's why it's always been Orji. That's why I didn't understand the subbing out Orji. Basically, at the first sign of trouble, almost like Quinn Ewers and Arch Manning, Orji had a couple of drives, and one including where they had a 3rd and 4 in that Washington game where they went throw. I mean, run the ball twice with Alex Orji and Mullings. You're probably going to get 4 yards.
Right.
It was like they pulled the plug way too quick. I honestly don't think Michigan wins this game if it's Tuttle or Davis Warren. You got to go Orji. You got to recommit yourself to what we've seen in 2 of our victories this year.
Run the damn ball.
Run the damn ball. What are we doing? Run the damn ball. I feel like they can pummel Michigan State running the ball. I'm out of wits, man. I mean, number one thing that's also very confusing. So Alex Orji would come in last year and take snaps away from J.J. McCarthy, quarterback supreme, but he's not coming in and taking snaps from Tuttle.
Right.
Why? What is happening, man? It's a comedy of errors. That's where I'm at with it, man. I don't know if you ever would because you love Michigan so much, and I do too. But you almost are going to drive yourself insane if you're not just laughing at some of the stuff that's unfolding on the field.
Yeah. Well, the big difference is Harbaugh over Moore, and let's face it, they can't just axe him. I don't think that Michigan never does that, but the jury is definitely out on him. We talked about it well in advance that last year when he coached. Well, he was coaching during the game, but Harbaugh laid everything out on the line. It's a different story.
I don't think you can say Sherrone Moore it's been a bad look.
No, I agree.
And we have to have an opinion here. And I would say, if you ask me today, is he going to be a good coach or not? No. It's a little early, but my God, man, in terms of a first year, it couldn't have gone any worse.
No.
It just seems like I've seen people say this is as bad as when Rich Rod was there. This is as bad as when Brady Hoke was there, or those couple seasons that under Harbaugh, the team wasn't that good. My thing that I always go back to is at least those teams, even with Rich Rod, had an identity. You knew what offense Rich Rod was running. It was that spread option, that every school was running back in those days, no huddle, Denard Robinson trying to run all over the place. This team has no identity. We thought they were going to be a running offense. They're not even running the ball. They're trying to throw Jack Tuttle 32 times. We don't even know what this team is doing. So that's where it's even Brady Hoke. You knew it was going to be ground and pound with Brady Hoke. That's what they did, whether it worked or not.
Isn't it concerning that, I remember going in this year. Listen, at one point I said this is going to be a 10-win team. My God, was I wrong? Yeah. Isn't it concerning that 1 year away from a championship, with all that championship DNA pedigree that they earned, that the hard work they put in, that it's almost like it's deteriorated in the matter of not even a full season? It's like.
So Ted has said it a couple times. He's brought up coaching. I think the coaching thing is big. Harbaugh kept those guys together, had an identity, coached those guys up. I think this team, I've said it a few times, it lacks the leaders. It doesn't have guys really rallying people around and leading this team. I mean, Will Johnson, we all love him. He's been great at Michigan. He's going to be a top 5 pick. It seems like he's making some business decisions. And you wonder some of the times you see a running back coming at him, he kind of does like a get out of the way kind of tackle. If he's legitimately injured, okay, I get it, sit out. But the report is it's a toe injury. That could be terrible. If you have a broken toe, that's a big deal. But is he starting to see the writing on the wall? And is he starting to be I'm going to get ready for the draft? You got to think Harbaugh wouldn't allow that kind of stuff. Maybe, but and you kind of see the same stuff going on at Alabama,
where we have nothing to play for. It's gotten dire, man. It's unbelievable how dire it's gotten. What is your guys' read on this game? If you had to make a prediction, where are you? I'll be honest. I think Michigan wins, believe it or not, with everything we've said so far. The home game, I think the crowd will be into it. Night game, I know State fans, for some odd reason, are pissed about night games. Who gives a shit, man? Like, as if their whole Saturday is fucked up because they got to watch a game in prime time versus a noon kick. If it was like a home game, that you want to maybe a few of those more tailgates in the morning. Like, okay, I get that, but it's like, who gives a shit if your road game is a night game? Why are they complaining? Anyway, maybe we can table that for a second. But what is your guys' prediction for this game? I think Michigan, it's going to be ugly. It's both sides are going to make backbreaking turnovers, errors. It's going to be comical, but I think Michigan wins.
What you think, Ted?
Yeah, I'll take the opposite side. I think
I was going to say, I bet Ted goes Michigan State.
The way Michigan has been playing, I'm not impressed. I mean, it's just that kind of year. And I was going to say, look, coming off a national championship, wouldn't we take back-to-back 6-6 years if we could trade that in for that natty? Now, it doesn't make us happy, but we'd do it. But I think Michigan State's, they got a little bit more momentum going, with the way they've been playing. They got a better quarterback. They've got a proven coach. Okay. So let's go back to coaching. So I think Spartans win a close one at the Big House. I just think it's their year.
I'm leaning that way. And mostly, even though Childs has a turnover problem also, like you said, I think he's the more talented. Whoever Michigan plays at quarterback, he's more talented than. And I don't know if whoever plays quarterback for Michigan is going to be able to protect the ball, and are they going to be able to run? I have no idea what to expect out of Michigan, but at least with Michigan State, Childs is going to air it out. He's going to run the ball a little bit. So for Michigan, you just got to hope to force some turnovers. You got to hope that he throws 1 or 2 interceptions. Maybe you can force a fumble or 2. And that's what you got to hope for. Cause if Will Johnson doesn't play, I said it early, Nick Marsh might have a huge day. So I don't want to pick Michigan State, but I do not feel good about Michigan going in this game at all.
Wouldn't it be hilarious though if Tuttle just comes out and air raid 3 touchdowns, 250 throw? Like, I tell you what, nothing would restore my hope in football and in humanity than if he dropped a Heisman type game on Michigan State. It's not going to happen, but man, that would be hilarious if it did.
Yeah, well, I don't think it's going to happen either. And my favorite thing about that game Saturday, you guys might laugh or not, but I thought those Illinois uniforms and helmets were spectacular. I loved them.
Yeah, I thought the helmets were cool. I mean, I feel like a couple schools have tried to pull that off, and it didn't look like a real leather helmet. Those look like an actual leather helmet. That looked pretty cool.
The helmets were sweet. The uniforms, would I feel like, man, I'm cool wearing these? No, but they worked. I mean, that was all people were talking about watching that game was their damn uniforms. Like, if you're Illinois, like if you're Michigan, never in God's green earth do you put those uniforms on. But Illinois, F it. Everybody's talking about you for college football Saturday. And they ended up winning the game. So now we'll have every time Illinois, when you go in their locker room, they're going to have pictures of them wearing those uniforms, beating Michigan. So,
and it's, it's hard to beat the winged helmet by Michigan, obviously one of the classics of all time. But if I was Illinois, man, I'd probably go to those helmets. Those are just sweet.
They are cool.
They were cool.
Absolutely. All right, let's go to the pro game right now. The Lions, another exciting game against the Vikings. I mean, our quarterback right now is on about as hot a streak as you can have. I mean, he's got to be the front runner, and they've been talking about it on all the national shows for MVP right at this point of the season. I mean, there's a long way to go.
Front runner. If he keeps it going, what he's doing right now, he's got to be the MVP. It's perfect football. It's perfect football. I saw somebody say, like, this is the best 4-game stretch a Lions quarterback has ever had. That's a fact. I mean, even including Matthew Stafford, which is kind of weird to say, but Goff has been picture perfect, man. It's unbelievable how well he's playing. They've really found their sync, that offense, and Ben Johnson. And man, what an awesome game that was. So I was flying back on Sunday, and I actually DVR'd. My dad actually was smart enough to DVR the game and was like, "Hey, don't spoil it for yourself. Like, let's watch this game." I've never done that before.
Cool.
It is. There's something to be said about that. It's awesome. I don't know why. Like,
he's finally come to home.
It really is.
Say.
You buzz through the game in 2 hours with no commercials. But also, it's like, think about that Lions game. Like, that's the highlight of your week, watching that game. You're entered. You can't take your eyes off the screen for 3 hours. Why would I just give that up? Like, just to check my phone and know as soon as I get off the plane what happened? Like, that was such a smart idea. I'm going to do that from now on. If I'm ever going to miss a game, like I'm going to DVR it, avoid the spoilers, and watch it because wow, it's the best 2 hours of your week. Why would you give it up?
Wow, how much have I been mocked for doing this?
I was going to say
it's
this
a revelation.
This changes the podcast.
Yeah.
I mean, this used to be a whole segment that you would make fun of Ted
It's
for
brilliant,
DVRing
man.
Michigan games. Ted would text us and say, "Don't give me
Yeah.
any spoilers." Jared would make fun of him for 10 minutes.
Yeah,
That's all gone now. That's all gone now.
Yeah.
It's brilliant, man. I see the vision. It's awesome. It is
good.
awesome. It's the
Good
only way
deal.
to do it, really.
No, it's not a bad idea, especially the fast forwarding through commercials. Yeah, you can knock out a football game in 2 hours. That's
yeah.
the big thing is avoiding spoilers, but yeah, it's not a bad idea. But Jared Goff is, I mean, I've seen people say Lamar Jackson obviously is maybe the front runner right now, and then Jared Goff's right there. It's probably like a 1A, 1B type of thing. Because yeah, that 4-game stretch you're talking about, the crazy stat, the Lions during this 4-game win streak have more offensive touchdowns than Goff has incompletions. That's just insane to think about. He is literally almost playing perfect football. And, the thing about him, and I've criticized, we've probably all criticized him a little bit. It used to be if you pressure him, he's just not the same quarterback. If you get him, moving out of the pocket, if you put pressure on him, he's not the same. And Brian Flores, the Vikings defensive coordinator, all he does is blitz, 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 blitz. And he did against the Lions, and Goff has figured it out. He is almost like even better under pressure than he is not under pressure. So him and Ben Johnson, they've got something figured out. The offensive line obviously is dominant. They've got the run game. They've got the receivers. I don't know how you can think any offense, maybe except for the Chiefs, of course, with Patrick Mahomes, and maybe the Ravens with Lamar Jackson. But the Lions offense right now has to be one of the best in the NFL anyway.
I'm going to say it's the best. It's amazing. What after watching a game, I mean, think about what they did. They beat an undefeated team that's well coached in their division on the road a week after they just lost their best player. I mean, would you guys feel vindicated? Like, hey, we don't need to go get a pass rusher? Or I will say they did struggle to rush the passer against Sam Darnold. Are you guys after that game saying, hey, we got it? We still need to go get it. You need to go get an edge rusher. Where'd you guys lean after that?
I would say I'd say we need to look at what is out there without giving up the farm. There, some of these people are saying they need to get Max Crosby, and we've talked about it. There's no way I'm giving up 3 first-round draft choices, even 2 number 1 choices for Max Crosby at this point. Yeah, would it be nice to have him in? Yeah, but there's some other decent quality edge rushers. The one that fascinated me the most when I heard about it, it's not probably going to happen, but I thought, well, this would be awesome. J.J. Watt. Come out of retirement.
Wow. Yeah, I saw that.
Man.
I saw
how good would it be though?
It'd be cool because I mean, if you see him, he still looks like he could play. That's for sure. But I did see he squashed that like right away because someone tweeted it, and I saw him like quote tweet it, and he said like, "I woke up this morning, had a cup of coffee, sitting by the lake, and then walked around the water with my son and my wife or something like that." He was like, I'm enjoying my life right now. So it sounds like JJ Watt is not happening. But yeah, I'm kind of with you. Like, would it be cool to get Max Crosby? Would it be cool to get Myles Garrett from the Browns now that the Browns are basically done? Yeah, of course. That'd be really cool. But are we really about to give up 3, 4, 5 draft picks and, maybe like a Hendon Hooker, some player that's kind of a backup that we kind of need? I don't know if it's worth that, but yeah, they didn't really generate the pressure that they do when they have Hutchinson, but they did actually get, I think, 4 sacks. So, they were getting to Darnold.
And how about the secondary? The way the secondary is playing, like Branch is out of his head.
That's what I was going to say. With Brian Branch playing that way and Terrion Arnold, the rookie, he's gone learning 2 straight games without penalties. So, no, they're coming around. I think the defense is almost fine. You're probably going to have to add a guy or 2 for depth. But I almost think you roll with what you got unless you can get a really good deal for someone.
And I mean, I think that, would you say the Vikings are the second best team in the NFC? I would say so. I mean, the 49ers, Deebo Samuel now has like pneumonia, which my fantasy team hates. But as a Lions fan and knowing that the 49ers are a team we probably don't want to see, even if they are 9-8 heading into playoffs, I'm okay with it. But I look at the Vikings as the second best team in the NFC, and we just beat them on the road. I mean, shout out to Jake Bates doing the Costco guys dance after the field goal. I
That was
love that.
awesome. That was awesome.
It's just everything about this Lions team. I mean, man, we just spent 20 minutes shitting on Michigan, but the Lions, it's like, what negative can you say about them? It's just an awesome team, likable players, well coached, likable team. The fans are loving it. Let's just cherish that, like I did in DVR. Cherish those 2 hours we get every Sunday to watch them play football because it's a treat.
Yeah, it really is almost like the polar opposite of Michigan. Everything we just said about Michigan, or the Lions are well coached. You know, they have an identity. When you see those locker room, obviously we all know winning cures everything. Those locker room videos, you know, in the Lions locker room are just, you can tell those dudes are all friends. They're playing for each other. That's what we used to see when Jim Harbaugh was Michigan's coach, and we just don't see it right now with Michigan. No, this Lions team has it all. I don't know why anyone would pick anybody else to make the Super Bowl in the NFC. I mean, they've got everything.
Yeah.
The only buzzkill, I mean, Jameson Williams.
Yeah.
This is just going to be the Jameson Williams experience, I think, is what we're learning. So. It's going to be something new every year, whether it's injury, off the field. It's just like, man, it's like he seems like a good dude, just maybe not the smartest guy. I don't know. How else do you explain it? It's like, what the hell's going on, man? We need you. Thank God it's only a 2-game suspension. Easily could have been more, or it's not even technically official yet, which doesn't even make sense. But man, he just can't stay out of his own way, it seems like.
I think he needs to move in with somebody like Anzalone or somebody that'll keep him under control, or Hutchinson. Yeah.
Right.
Because he definitely has made bad decisions, and I don't know if it's just immaturity or what, but he obviously has the skill, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
So that's the only negative on our Detroit Lions, man. I mean, you know, this podcast, we can go back all the time and, as you guys call it, check receipts on crazy stuff that we've said, but we all three had our moments with Dan Campbell. But my God, what a coach! He's just awesome.
He's exactly what the Lions needed. And yeah, there's been some growing pains with certain things, whatever, you know, but every coach has it. But as far as a coach that's gonna like galvanize a team, get everyone together, have them all playing for each other. You see how much they love each other.
Oh yeah.
I mean, he's been perfect. He really has. And you mentioned Jake Bates. We haven't really talked about it. What a pickup he was at kicker. I mean, he's been fantastic. Perfect. I mean, he's not Justin Tucker, or he's not, you know, some of these other dudes, but like he just won the game, and I think he's missed one extra point all season. He's been fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely.
And what a story. I mean, he came out and said, 18 months ago, he was selling bricks or something.
Yeah.
And then he obviously went and played for the USFL and for the Panthers, the Michigan Panthers, and won a job to the end. Like, such a cool story too.
Got a great leg. And I think right now he's rolling with confidence, which is what we need our kicker to have for sure.
Yeah.
A couple other quick topics before we wrap this thing up. You talked about Bates selling bricks. I mean, watching that WNBA final, you know, I don't want to be, I don't want to diss too much, guys, but they still got a long ways to go. It was exciting. It was fun to watch, but it was terrible basketball. I don't know what you guys think, but it was awful.
And that's the bummer. That's the reality is when Caitlin Clark went out, a lot of people lost interest, you know, myself included. I watched both of her playoff games, but I haven't watched any since. I saw one clip that was making the rounds on Twitter. It's like a minute back and forth, turnovers, great shots. I don't know, man. I think that's what the sport's always been. I think it is improving, but also there's ugly stretches in men's basketball too. Did you sit and watch the entire game? Or
I did. I watched almost all of it. I was flipping back and forth, but I watched primarily the basketball.
I mean, I guess I just don't. I mean, you know, they work hard. You know that they're in the gym 24/7, just like men are. I don't know how you fix it. I think that's just the reality.
Well, then the reality is, then it's kind of a minor league, man. I mean, if you're going to watch basketball, you want to see shots go in, not bricks. Man.
But also it's about the storylines, and there is characters you can build off of. You just need, you know, honest to God, they need Angel Reese to take a step and try to match like a Caitlin Clark level, which probably won't. But you need those WWE type characters, which I think they have. But it's just a bummer when they're all eliminated.
Well, what's wrong with good basketball, though? You see good basketball in college, but you don't see it in the WNBA.
Do you? I feel like every year March Madness, the NBA snobs go to March Madness like, what the hell am I watching? Like, this isn't even good basketball. No. Is that agreed, Matt? Like, that's a story. I get what you're saying. I'm not defending. It is bad basketball. You don't need me to tell you that it is. It's horrible basketball at points.
Yeah, I mean,
I just don't know what the solution is to that. That's just, I mean, maybe you are right. It's just never, it's a minor league in a sense. I don't know what you do.
I think one solution is not what they're about to do, and they're adding 2 more teams, and all that's going to do is water down the product because now you're going to have players in the league that weren't good enough to make it now. So
Right.
the teams aren't going to be even as good as they were this year. So I don't know about, I mean, of course they want to expand, they want to try and grow their product, so they're going to do that. I don't know. I'm not necessarily a huge fan of the NBA. I like it because I work on it, and I do enjoy working on it because there's, like you said, Jared, a lot of good storylines. There's good characters, but the league just doesn't seem like it's run very well. Like the decision to add 2 teams when they lose like $40 million a year as a league. The only reason they're still going is because the NBA keeps them going, basically, and
for sure.
the TV money from ESPN. So, it just seems like a little bit of a dysfunctional league. You got a player like Caitlin Clark coming in. I've seen people basically say this is like Tiger Woods coming into the PGA. You got Caitlin Clark coming in. It seems like you would just rally around her and do everything to market her, just try and grow the game and stuff like that. And it seemed like they were like resistance. There was resistance to doing that.
Resentment.
So yeah, it was just it was a strange season. And then, yeah, that game 5, it wasn't a game 7, the game 5 in the NBA finals, it was drama because it was really close.
Yeah.
But there were stretches of like not good basketball. I mean, Sabrina Ionescu is like one of the best players in the WNBA. She went like 1 of 20 from the field.
Yeah, she was all for 13 or 14 at one point.
Right. So, I mean, I know, even Kobe Bryant, even Michael Jordan had some bad shooting games, but it's like, man, that's like game on the line. Brianna Stewart is probably 1 or 1A best player in the league. She didn't have a very good game. And then the big thing, I kind of tweeted out a few times. So they're at the end of the game. They went to the coach of the Liberty, mic'd up, and they went to her live. And when they went to her live, I was like, oh, wow, this is risky. Because so normally when the coaches are mic'd up, I've literally done this for WNBA games. It's called Wired. Right. You do not go to that live because it's either going to be swear words or the league gives you guidelines on what not to show. You can't show anything that is strategic. You can't show anything if a coach is saying anything about referees or the other players. It's just supposed to be like encouragement. Come on, girls, like, let's go. Let's keep fighting. You're playing great, blah, 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 that kind of stuff. They went to, so when we cut that, when I edit that, we have to air it during a commercial break. So there's a league representative that watches it during a commercial break, says, yep, that's good. Then we can run it after the break. If I cut something and I say, yeah, this is a good Wired, let's show this. We show it during a commercial break and the league official says, nope, that doesn't do it. We can't air it. So for them to go in the biggest moment of the season, they go to the live coach and she starts telling Brianna Stewart, drive the ball. And if you get fouled, embellish it.
Right.
Embellish it. And you hear her say that, sell the foul. And then all of a sudden the audio dumps out. So whoever was running audio and the producer went, oh shit, dump that, get out now. And then they cut away from it. I was like, oh dude, the producers are probably freaking out right now. The league officials are probably like, no, we can't show this. And I'm just like, what is going on?
And that's how it ended. That's how the game ended too.
Right.
I think that's what they were counting on. That speaks more to maybe the sport than anything. But also, Matt, I'll somewhat disagree. It's like almost like if you're the WNBA, we're losing all this money, man. It's like, why not let some of that more, like, let's just go live and let's see what's the worst that's going to happen. Right. It's like there's no LeBron that if he says the wrong thing, the league takes a massive hit. Outside of Caitlin Clark, obviously. So like if it's a Caitlin Clark huddle, yeah, you probably shouldn't go live. Outside of that, it's like I'm almost like just let it roll and let's see what happens. It would add a little bit to it, but I get what you're saying. It is kind of crazy that they did do that, and definitely a mistake looking back.
Definitely.
Yeah, it was crazy, but when it comes down to it, I kind of get what you're saying, Jared. Like it almost is what it is. That's just, we're not saying anything bad about the women basketball player, but I think if you're trying to put them up against how good NBA players are, you're just not going to see the shot making. You're not going to see the dunks and stuff like that you see in the NBA. And it's just kind of how it is.
But if you were thinking of the NBA, what do we have that maybe the NBA doesn't have? we got people that players care about. Millions of followers on Instagram.
Yeah.
Like, again, I'm not a marketing whiz, but if we're in the huddle with Caitlin Clark and or with Angel Reese and she's saying, shut down, like saying something negative about Caitlin Clark, it's like, wow, that goes mega viral.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's
yeah. I personally, I just think,
I probably should have tuned in. I don't know what else is on the TV, but I kind of wish I did. I don't know why I wasn't.
What,
it was fun. It was fun to watch, I thought, but it was brutal. It was fun because it was competitive, and it was for all the marbles. I thought the announcing team did good too. Lobo was good along with the play-by-play guy. He had the exact right amount of energy, I could live without Spike Lee, but that's a whole nother story. Front runner.
I was saying that's Spike, man.
I know. All right, well, let's call it a podcast. Just was going to say, baseball World Series is set. Dodgers and Yankees. I think it's great. I love the Dodgers and Yankees in the World Series. You got star power. It'll be fun to watch, but just shows the Tigers what they got to build for, but it'll be fun.
You got Shohei Ohtani versus Aaron Judge, Yankees, Dodgers. First time, though, that they've matched up in the World Series since like 88 or something like that.
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it?
It's been a while.
Yeah, they used to meet pretty much every year back in the day. All right, guys, let's call it a podcast. Want to thank our main sponsor, Memorial Healthcare's Wellness Center. The orthopedic walk-in clinic is now open Monday through Fridays. I think it's down to its last week, so I'll double check that schedule. But for any details of what's going on at the Healthcare's Wellness Center, check out memorialhealthcare.org. Also want to thank our other partners, ALS of Michigan, AZee Branding Solutions, Jacobs Insurance Agency, Kori Associates Real Estate Services, Nelson House Funeral Homes, Rivals Taphouse and Grille, Success Group Mortgage and Servicing, and Shiawassee County Fair. Also, the Z92.5 Game of the Week, the regular season finale, Alpena at St. John's. So if you want to tune into that, we'll be broadcasting it live on Z92.5. Casey will be back for the playoffs. I'll be doing the play-by-play Friday. Thank goodness the end of my season is almost here. Peace and love.
You're not doing any playoff games? Even
well,
third mic?
If we do any Corona games, I might sit in as a third mic. But other than that, it's all Casey and Bart. Peace and love, everybody. Be kind and make sure you vote. We got 2 weeks to finally get rid of these commercials on TV that are nonstop bombardment. But vote. I don't care who you vote for, but vote. It's your right. You're going to vote, right, Jared?
I already did it, man.
Attaboy. All right.
I was going to say, I'm going to early vote too.
I got my absentee ballot, so I'm going to fill that out tomorrow, the next day.
Nice.
Beautiful.
All right, guys. Have a good one. We'll talk to you next time.